Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. You know, it feels weird when, for once, my predictions are actually mostly right on the money from last week. Now, granted, they were pretty obvious predictions and who was going to number one, who was going to fall out of the top 10, or even some gains and losses. And if I were to say this week that both Drake's songs from that EP are going to chart next week, that's not going to blow anybody's mind or surprise them. But still, it's an odd feeling, especially when there are songs coming up that look pretty promising, or at least I hope so. But first off, the big news in our top 10, Havana by Camila Cabello featuring Young Thug went to number one, the first time for both of these artists. And I'll repeat what I said in my review of that debut. This is arguably one of the best songs off of it and a good song to boot. I wasn't crazy about the record, but I'm fine with this being number one. And what's interesting is how it actually got there, because it really was a margins game. Not quite there on airplay or the radio, it inched over the top on streaming, specifically on YouTube. Now, this will start to fade out. I put money on Perfect by Ed Sheeran retaking the top spot thanks to sales and airplay dominance. For now, it's at number two, but I'm also starting to see some cracks in its strengths. It's more vulnerable than it might appear. It might have also peaked on the radio. Now, what threw me off a little off guard was Rockstar by Post Malone featuring 21 Savage getting a hint of a comeback up to number three, regaining on-demand streaming despite losses on the radio. But okay, let's get real. Even though Finesse by Bruno Mars and Cardi B fell to number four, it's gonna rebound hard. It might have slipped a bit across the board, but that radio surge is not slowing down. It's gonna be big for some time. Now, I will not say the same thing about Bad at Love by Halsey up to number five. It's only as high as it is thanks to the radio, and it peaked there this week. Hell, the only reason it went above Thunder by Imagine Dragons at number six, which is steadily dropping in all categories, is also because No Limit by G-Eazy featuring A$AP Rocky and Cardi B dropped even harder with less to work with, especially in sales. Now, this takes us to a top 10 entry, a new one that's been long in coming, and I'm actually pretty pleased to see it here. New Rules by Dua Lipa at number 8. And really, as much as I like the song, it's only here because of the radio. Its sales and streaming peaks have long passed. It's pretty much got here because Too Good at Goodbyes by Sam Smith is floundering at number 9, as it peaked hard on the radio too this week. And finally, clinging to the very bottom, we've got Motorsport by Migos featuring Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, basically at number 10 because while streaming is solid, everyone else around it is bleeding. It's just a little bit stable. And on that friendly topic, the losers and the dropouts. In the latter category, we've got some big ones. I could use a love song by Maren Morris, That's What I Like by Bruno Mars, and the true big one, Despacito by Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee. But really, they all had respectable runs. You could have seen all of this coming, and that's something I would say about a lot of our losers here too. As I predicted, Filthy by Justin Timberlake did not last in the top 10 as it fell hard at 29, and underwhelming audiences, All the Stars by Kendrick Lamar and SZA fell to 53. Then we had the continued losses for I'll Name the Dogs by Blake Shelton to 82, and Ready For It by Taylor Swift down to 96. And now that sales discount is gone, Tell Me You Love Me by Demi Lovato fell hard to 72, and good riddance for that. But really, most of our gains, they make sense in that mold too, especially as we've got no returning entries this week. Of course, Endgame by Taylor Swift featuring Ed Sheeran and Future is up to 18 off of the video and some sales traction, and Never Be the Same by Camila Cabello gets its big boost up to 30, which in the big prediction I got wrong, there was no album bomb for Camila Cabello. This is the only real significant pickup besides Havana going to number one. Then we've got the success for Lil Skies and Landon Cube, with Nowadays picking up to 55 and Red Rose is up to 69. And really, considering how melodic they are, even if the content is pretty empty, I predict these will have some real momentum, especially on streaming. And following up its gains from last week in the build-up for Culture 2, Stir Fry by Migos is up to 60, which is kind of encouraging. I want to see this do well. It's a really good Migos song. The only real surprises for me are Written in the Sand by Old Dominion up to 59. I guess it's got enough radio traction to do well here. And Lemon by NERD and Rihanna up to 40, which has quietly built itself a bit of a radio following for itself as well. Kind of interesting. I'll be curious to see if it can push any higher when older songs above it finally start to fade out. But now, on to our list of new arrivals, and it's a diverse and pretty weird set this week. Starting off with number 98, El Bano by Enrique Iglesias featuring Bad Bunny.
Estar un día más así yo no lo aguanto. Vámonos a la luna, vámonos pa'l cine. Vamos a dar un beso que nunca se termine. Si quiere algo serio, hay que ver mañana. Si somos novios o somos pana.
You know what always throws me a little? That Enrique Iglesias has been making music for well over 2 decades at this point, especially at this point of his career when he's hopping on reggaeton production that everybody will forget in a day, if not less. And if that gives you a hint about how little I care about a song like El Bano, well, mission accomplished. Because between the fizzy bass tap of the beat, a keyboard line, and bare bones acoustic strumming providing only the faintest trace of real organic instrumentation, this is the sort of sound that I feel I've already heard dozens of times on Billboard Breakdown before, and certainly not all that flattering for Enrique Iglesias, who always sounds better with more organic production. And it does feel like he's on autopilot here. A hookup jam where the opening lines of the hook having him wanted to screw this girl in the bathroom with the attitude of, well, if it happens, it happens. And as expected, Bad Bunny, he contributes nothing. The song really doesn't stand out much. Let's move on. Number 93, I Don't Give a Fuck by Dua Lipa. Okay, look, I'm happy that Dua Lipa is finally catching on with American audiences. And while this is no Be The One, or Lost in Your Life with Miguel, or Homesick, this is a damn solid follow-up to New Rules, and arguably even better in my books. But let's be honest here, this is a modern Pink breakup song with the sparse electric guitar and the huge percussion that lets Dua Lipa use her imperious presence to maximum advantage. Now granted, the thicker bass swell and the piano is what knocks this into real quality territory for me. I think this is actually a pretty great song. And it helps that Dua Lipa tilts into sheer, blunt aggression. She's not putting up with any shit. It's not so much that an easy dismissal that you lose the drama, but it is decisive, leveraging her edge, and comes off really well. In other words, yeah, I liked this several months ago, still like it now. Check it out. Hope it does well. Number 91, King's Dead by Shay featuring Kendrick Lamar, Future, and James Blake.
I made 100,000, then I freaked it. I made 500,000, then I freaked it. I bought an 87 for the weekend. This ain't what you want, this ain't what you want. This ain't what you want, this ain't what you want.
This is the first time J-Rock has ever charted on the Hot 100. Oh, he was close with Money Trees with Kendrick Lamar off of Good Kid, Mad City, but this is one where he got there as the headliner, and yeah, it certainly helped he got Kendrick, Future, and James Blake for backup, but for a hard-edged gangster rapper like him, who most of us would never expect to get mainstream traction, even despite having the sound quality and accessibility to get there, this was kind of exciting, and yet I can't say I'm exactly happy with what we got here. For one, the number of repeated bars from everybody involved doesn't exactly reflect well, especially with J-Rock delivering a flow that's more reminiscent of a hyper-competent 2 Chainz than his more expressive growl against the bassy trap skitter. Yeah, the rhymes all connect, and the flow is definitely good, but I kind of expected more coming from him. I'm sorry. And with Future cribbing from Juicy J to plug the bridge and sounding really awful to boot with that auto-tune, and with James Blake basically as a glorified cameo, the real reason to check this out would be Kendrick's hook and the verse, especially after the beat switch, which brings into this even thicker bassy rumble with a shade more melody, that thicker buzz. But you know what? The frustrating thing is that since this is yet another song off the Black Panther soundtrack, the content isn't really allowed to become more than just sheer braggadocious flexing. And with the exception of Future, they can all do kind of better than that. Man, I gotta be honest, it's not bad, but I really wish I liked this more. Number 84, Tequila by Dan and Shay.
Lips pressed against the bottle, slamming on a Bible, baby, I'd never leave you. I remember how bad I need you when I taste tequila. When I taste tequila.
You know, I guess it has been that long since there's been a new Dan and Shay record. And really, this duo has a better track record when it comes to singles than you would expect for this brand of pop country. But facing a fair bit more competition these days, both in their genre and as a country duo, can they stand out? Well, yeah, somewhat, I think. I'm not really thrilled whatsoever they decide to plug in a blocky drum machine instead of just sticking with real drums against the more elegant blur of piano, cello, and acoustic guitar that actually has more organic flavor. That's where you get the very breath breathy vocal arrangement. But you know what? I like the content, taking the earnest sincerity that's always characterized the duo and letting them get a little bit wistful about an old flame. It's nothing all that complex, but the added fine detail that comes in this story makes it stand out in comparison with a lot of pop country in this vein. It's actually got some color to it. So yeah, it's not exactly great. Dan and Shay have done better in my books, but yeah, it's pretty good all the same. I'll take it. Number 80, My by Troye Sivan.
I die every night with you. Oh my, living for your every move.
So I'm not gonna mince words. I've been waiting for Troye Sivan to really cut loose as a pop star. Sure, his production's probably never gonna get that colorful or interesting, but his writing has gotten sharper, and I can tell that if he was willing to push some real explosive energy, he could be pretty compelling as a pop artist. And hell, that was even the topic of My, a song about liberation in the hookup and cutting loose, and okay, no, he doesn't quite get there, but he's at least on the right track this time, with the bigger overdubs on the hook as more warping electronic layers pile in. Nothing that feels seriously meaty in the low end against that very thin, punchy beat and pitch-shifted vocal samples all around him, but there is at least a hint more swell to match that really tight beat. I guess as a whole, it's a little bit too frail to really connect for me, something that I've commented about a lot of Troye Sivan's work as a whole, but he's got more groove behind him, and he's starting to get a little bit more interesting as such, and I'm kind of curious where that next album goes, because it's pretty good. Number 71, Outside Today by YoungBoy Never Broke Again.
So I'm drinking on egg today. I'ma put up my style. We gon' do a drive-by in the rain. I'ma take it to trial. Pray the Lord I beat the case. That man be.
Okay, seriously, what the hell is the appeal of this guy? He keeps releasing songs and they keep charting, and yet I've yet to hear anything rising above mediocre. And outside of a moderately catchy hook and that's on the melody against the desaturated keys and piano and underweight trap hi-hats, this doesn't go much further. Half talking about everything he's bought, including a baby tiger who was seized later this month by authorities after being off his property with signs of neglect. Asshole. And half a paranoid rant talking about everybody he's gonna kill when he does his next drive-by, which kind of feels odd to mention when your most memorable line on the hook is how you're not going outside, but whatever. And seriously, I mean that. Whatever. The song is barely more than 2 minutes, the second verse is half the length of the first, the syllable counts line to line are incredibly sloppy, and any original content beyond the flexing does not make YoungBoy Never Broke Again remotely interesting or likable. So yeah, not a good song, skip it. Number 64, Keke by 6ix9ine featuring Fetty Wap and a Boogie with the Hoodie.
On the regular, cut me water, whip a straight drop on the regular. Yeah, you know I run up with the shit on the regular. Bare face, I'ma hit a lick on the regular. Pussy with the drop, gun cut on the regular. Yeah, I'm 6'9" with the 9 on the regular.
So am I the only one who has the feeling that 6ix9ine's hype is already starting to sputter out? I mean, despite Gummo's continued success, he's struggled to push his follow-up singles, and I'm not sure how getting Fetty Wap or a Boogie with the Hoodie is bound to help him, especially when neither make content that really fits his more hyper-violent lane. Now granted, they're both more interesting MCs than 6ix9ine, who shouts through a hook that Fetty Wap actually makes a little bit more melody when he takes it over, but after that, in his verse, Boogie never brings us back to the hook, which gives us another painfully underwritten and short song that feels half finished. Granted, when you're dealing with MCs as one-dimensional as 6ix9ine and Fetty Wap are, you kind of expect it, but at least Fetty Wap used to be likable, and this fast-paced synth, the bass, and the sharp trap beat, it's not a bad fit for his voice, but this sort of hard-bitten content, it's just not him. And watching him sing rap through the sloppy rhyming on the hook just made me feel sad, rhyming regular with itself so many times. Come on, dude, I remember your stuff in 2015, you're better than this. And while he does switch up his flow midway through the verse, it's not like a Boogie with the Hoodie can save this song either. So yeah, as much as I might kinda like some of the production, nobody here is doing enough with it, and as much as I don't mind seeing a Boogie with the Hoodie or Fetty Wap get another shot at the charts, I don't think either of them are that bad. I just want to see 6ix9ine go away, cause on that note, it's not that good either. And finally, number 47, The Champion by Carrie Underwood featuring Ludacris. So I think I know what a bunch of you are gonna say, but you can relax. Even though it's Carrie Underwood, I'm not really gonna treat this as a pop country song. It's not being promoted to country radio, it's just a track that's here for Super Bowl promotion for a crossover that's winning big audiences. And apparently that's actually working. The iTunes run this song has had is kind of amazing, but okay, how about the song itself? Honestly, not stellar. The vocal pickup for Carrie is pretty thin and only seems to emphasize her nasal mid-range against the grinding rock guitar and the occasional howling squeal. And since this is modern pop, none of it is allowed to gain any sort of real swell or firepower against that popping trap percussion, which is right at the very front, but without any sort of real bass groove or muscle. It just doesn't carry a lot for me. It's an underweight pop song, not anything all that rock. And yeah, the content, it's empowerment cheese, and watching Ludacris rattle through all 8 letters of the word champion, it's kind of ridiculous. But you know what? It's more damn ambition and consistent thematic focus than anything anybody else in hip-hop brought this week. Plus, Ludacris is a force of personality with real charisma. I still like this guy. So look, I can't in good conscience say this is a great or even all that good song, but if this is the faint reminder that Ludacris can still spit and really deserves a lot more attention, I'll take what we can get in that. So yeah, this week it was all over the place, but I really can't say the low points outweighed the good songs. With I Don't Give a Fuck by Dua Lipa taking the best of the week, I know that's gonna surprise some of you, and Tequila by Dan and Shay snagging honorable mention. As for the worst, you know what, it's going to Outside Today by YoungBoy Never Broke Again, because at least when Keke by 6ix9ine, Fetty Wap, and a Boogie with the Hoodie is slapdash, badly constructed, and really disappointing, there's decent production behind it, something Outside Today really doesn't have. Now coming up, you know what, I do not expect Fall Out Boy to have any crossover singles, so it's really anybody's game. When Camila Cabello falls off, this could get interesting, so stay tuned for that. But till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.